So this is a quick look at the SKTC A09 Mini ITX computer case from AliExpress that I picked up. It's 3.8 litres ITX and uses a Flex ATX power supply. It comes in this box here. There's USB 3.0 in the front. This is a quick unboxing of the SKTC A09. It comes packed really well with some bubble wrap and plastic, and it's just protected really well, so we shouldn't expect any damage in shipping. Here you can see the front ports, the USB and audio jacks. It's really small. This case can even fit a 1-slot graphics card, up to 170mm I believe. Here you can see the Flex ATX cutout for the power supply, and then the main cutout for the motherboard. Here's a little look around at the case. Here's it in my hand. As you can see, it's quite small. If you happen to own a G Pro X Superlight, this is what it would look like compared to this. This is a loose out G Pro X Superlight at 38 grams. It's pretty cool. It's called the Overlight. This computer build will be featuring a Radeon 5 5600G with APU graphics. It will also feature a Noctua L9A AM4 cooler, really small and low profile, around 37mm. A Gigabyte ultra durable A520i AC Mini ITX motherboard. This is the kind of motherboard you need to fit in this case. 1-foot backplate is actually easier to install. Some Corsair Vengeance 16GB to 8GB sticks at 3200MHz. Storage will be a 500GB hard drive at 7200 RPM, a Western Digital Blue 250GB SSD. The SSD will be the main storage. This PC will feature a Silverstone Flex ATX power supply with 350 watts, and it's a gold rated power supply. Really nice for this build. Here you can see all the boxes for the parts that are going into the case. It's interesting to see that the boxes are bigger than the actual case. Now here starts the disassembly of the computer. First we start by taking off the side panel. There's only 2 screws holding that in. I had some difficulty getting the side panel off, but I managed to do it eventually. Now that we have it open, you can see the side drive bay. I don't think you can actually fit a dedicated graphics card if you have the side bay in, and if you have a dedicated graphics card, you have to watch out for the USB 3.0 ports, as they could get in the way for anything about 170mm or so. Here are the screws you need to take out to remove the side bay. It's only 2 on either side. And once you get it off, now you can see the inside of the case. Be sure to take off the power button and the front I/O, otherwise it will be difficult fitting anything in here. Here's the Silverstone power supply that we're using, the 350W gold. It fits in there. Remember to put the backplate on, but I actually had to put this on after, otherwise the motherboard wouldn't go in. It was quite a tight squeeze. I pre-assembled the motherboard with the low profile Noctua cooler and the Western Digital M.2 SSD. Here's the Gigabyte board. I actually had to put the motherboard in and then squeeze the backplate on. I made the mistake of installing the power supply first, but if this is in you can't install the motherboard, so be sure to put the motherboard in before the power supply. Now this is pretty much the final build. It was really hard to fit in the power supply, like it was extremely tight, and fitting all the cables for each of the part into the front panel area. It's really tight around the RAM and the SATA ports and everything. You just have to kind of work everything in. So it's a big bundle of cables, so I recommend a modular power supply. A modular power supply will give you a lot of room to work with. I had to set a bunch of cables to the left side of the processor cooler, because there's a lot of excess, as you don't use a lot of them in this build. You can kind of see the finished build here in my hand. The cables that are sticking out is SATA power and SATA data, because the hard drive that was on the side, but you can pretty much see how I worked it here. Now all that's left is to fit the side panel. Here you can see there's still room for like a dedicated graphics card, but you wouldn't be able to fit it if you had the hard drive in, I believe. I kept all the cables out of the way of the cooler, so it shouldn't be blocked. But yeah, it's a really compact build. Time to get the side panel on. Just 2 screws. And there we go. Here's a Logitech G Pro X shape for scale. This is a loose out overlight. Here's the back of the case with everything on it. Here you can see the feet that you install. You only get 4 feet, so you can put it on either the side or the bottom. Put the case in standing mode as it takes up less space. This is probably the preferred mode for most people. Here it is next to another build that I've done, the Dancase A4 SFX V4.1. I like that build a lot as it can fit a giant dedicated graphics card. I also decided to put the build beside my headphones, the Sennheiser HT660S. It shows how small this is. I also put it beside a really old graphics card, a Radeon R9 380. Here's the build when I got it all plugged up on the floor. It's up and working fine. I really love this build, it's so small. Here it's beside my main PC. Here's a look at the case that I picked up on AliExpress. It cost a bit similar, but there's an extra cost added because you're shipping it to the UK from China. If you scroll down a bit, it actually lets you know what you can fit in the case. This is how I kind of decided to do it. So it has a processor height limit of 63mm apparently, and then if you were to fit a graphics card, the height limit of a cooler on the processor would be about 40mm or so. The cooler I picked is 37mm. There's also a website I found out about recently called CaseEnd. It also lets you know what kind of things you can fit in the case. And I think they also keep up to date. For a graphics card, it fits on 170mm long, 20mm thick, and then 130mm from the slot outwards. While searching Google, I found this channel after I ordered it. As you see here, they fit a dedicated graphics card inside the build. And they actually made a video of where to actually find a riser cable. This channel recommends use a 5cm riser cable. They recommend the ADT Link 5cm riser, and I think it's one with a right angle. I'll put a link in the description below. If you consider subscribing and giving this video a like, it will help me so much. Thanks a lot for watching.